From 2022, the GAT has been split into two sections. However, the writing task for Section B is still the same as the old writing task 2 from 2020 on, back for about 3 decades worth of GATs. So if you're after any help for the Section B writing task, we have a video that we released a couple of years ago that's been really popular with helping students out who have come before you. So the reason we've put this video together is because in 2022, when it moved to Section B and the standalone writing task as that part of Section B, they introduced visuals into the prompts for the first time. And so today I'm going to take you through a sample piece that I've written in response to the 2022 prompts, and to give you an idea of how to work with the visuals and the written material that has been provided for you. The first thing that we need to keep in mind with the Section B writing task is that the instructions are extremely clear. And you can see them on your screen here at the moment. Consider the 4 pieces of information below. Take them all in, have a think about what they mean. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? It's all there to help you. One thing that I often say about the information with this writing task is that it's not there like an essay question where it's looking to be very precise about you responding to it very directly. It's here to help you. It's here to, springboard you into a range of different ideas and into your own thinking. Develop a piece of writing presenting your point of view. Now, those 4 words at the end of that sentence, your point of view, are the key words here. This is what this task is. What is your point of view on this issue? It's not a reflective piece on the information. It's not a discussion about different ways that all the information can be thought about. It is a point of view piece of writing. Your writing will be judged on your ideas, how well you organise and present your point of view, and how effectively you express yourself. Have a look at that sentence and think about exactly what that's asking. When you see the word organise, think to yourself paragraphs. When you see the ideas that you're putting forward, of course, each of your paragraphs should have its own ideas. The depth to which you can show thought and understanding about the issue whilst you're putting forward your point of view will also have an impact onto how successful you are with this task. Finally, use one or more of the pieces of information to support your writing. One of the most common questions I get is there a right or a wrong way to use certain parts of the information? And the answer is right there in front of you. Use one or more of the pieces of information. Students can do a great job by really latching onto one of the pieces of information and going for it from there. Other students can do a great job by putting together 2 or 3 of the pieces of information and using them as the basis for different ideas that all lead to one strong contention. The only thing you need to keep in mind, whether you use all 4 pieces of information or just one, is that you are there to develop your point of view. You're not there just to touch on all 3 or all 4 of the pieces that you've decided to use. So let's jump in and take a look at what was asked of students in 2022. The first 2 pieces of information that you were presented with are right there on the screen now. We can see the first one, a bit like the old writing task 2 tasks, has the one sentence there. It's much better to be true to yourself, to be an individual, than to follow the crowd. A really clear way of thinking and of understanding the world and how we, work within it as individuals. And then the second piece of information is the visual that you can see there. Non-uniform day today, and as we see, everybody's shown up wearing the same things. Now, essentially, all you need to do with the visual material is think about what it is really saying. These visuals that they use are going to have a really clear contention. To me, what that says is that in a school that obviously usually has a uniform, on the non-uniform day, everyone's shown up wearing the same thing. What does that say about people conforming to certain fashion standards? What does that say about the fact that even though on the day where they weren't to wear a uniform, they're all still showing up wearing what is essentially a uniform anyway, unofficially, because they're all in the same clothes. People are perhaps afraid to be themselves, whatever you like to take from that. One of the great things, and where you should be seeing these visuals as an advantage with this writing task instead of it just being 4 written statements, is that there's many different things that you can get from it. And you won't be as tied down into thinking, right, I either agree or disagree with exactly what the statement says. There's many different things you could get from that visual. I'd be using as many of those thoughts that come to your head as possible when you're developing your own point of view. We move on and we see that there is one more visual, but also one more written statement. The third one there saying, being a part of a group makes us more accepting of others. Interesting idea, obviously different from the other written idea. And then we have the final visual there. The group saying we, the individual saying me. And of course the exclamation mark there, obviously getting to ideas of people being, self-indulgent, self-obsessed, selfish, whatever we might want to take from that. So we've been given all four pieces of that, of the information there. What's most important is what you develop from it. It's okay to strongly align with perhaps one of these statements or ideas and base your point of view on that, so long as it is your point of view. So long as you're not just rehashing exactly what one of the statements or one of the visuals is saying. Use it as inspiration. That is what it is there for. I'll give you an example of how I went about it here with putting mine together. Too many people worry about being an individual and trying to portray themselves as somehow unique from the billions of people they share this world with. The truth is that it is impossible to be completely unique with the way the world now works, and any attempt to go against this is merely a desperate ploy. So in the very first two sentences, anyone reading this piece is left in no doubt as to what my point of view is. It's stated exceptionally clearly in these opening sentences. Too many people worry about being an individual from the billions of people they share the world with. It's clear. It's saying, don't worry about it. It's impossible to do that. And that word is even used in the second sentence, as you can see there. The happiest people are those who can find contentment in the pursuit of a goal within a group. So now we have an elaboration on these ideas of saying, okay, I'm not just going to say you can't be an individual and that's it. I'm going to go on further and say, right, the happiest people are those who find contentment. So it's still under that umbrella of this idea of you can't be an individual, so don't bother. But now I'm going further and elaborating on that idea a little bit further. When we get over ourselves and start to act in a way that benefits everyone around us, we can ironically find a better sense of ourselves. So a pretty intriguing idea to finish off the introduction there in saying that actually what happens is that when we get past thinking about just ourselves, we actually find contentment and a better sense of who we really are. So range of interesting ideas, clear point of view being put forward. It reads as an introduction. Sometimes I get asked about this with the writing task for section B. Can I do creative? Does it have to be an essay? Does it have to follow a structure? There are no rules about any of that. Just remember the criteria. Develop that point of view. You can take on a persona if you'd like to. You can do all of those things. But ask yourself the simple question, is it helping me meet the criteria? And if the answer to that's no, then, obviously you want to be making sure that you are writing something that is helping you do what you are after there. So writing creatively or anything like that can be effective, but at the same time can also take people off on a tangent towards something that, takes them away from the criteria. If you do choose to write like I have here in a pretty formal way of just presenting a point of view without taking on a persona or anything like that, but still including a bit of personal stuff in there. You can do so in a way that almost reads like an essay, but don't think that you're going to be judged to, any sort of text response essay structures or anything like that. It's understood that you only have 30 minutes to complete this writing. Let's read on to the first paragraph of elaboration of the ideas. In our ultra-connected world, there's no point in trying to be an individual. Clear statement again. It's making sure that developing that point of view is just coming through loud and clear. Whilst it may seem like we have endless options when it comes to the clothes we wear, the activities we participate in, and the music we listen to, the ugly truth is that all of those choices are put forward by a small number of huge companies all looking to make profit. There are many who try to avoid being labelled. They listen to alternative music and buy their clothes from alternative stores. But the very label of alternative highlights the impossibility of being a true individual. Short of creating your own music, clothing and art, there is no way to be unique from others in a true sense. The act of trying to do so leads people to be seen as just part of another group. So a pretty short paragraph there, 5 or 6 sentences, but you'll notice all on track, all working towards a purpose, all using arguments to develop that point of view further, that any attempt to be something outside of what everyone else is just leads you to be a part of another group anyway. I think it's really worth mentioning here, when I reread this, and I'm the person who wrote this paragraph, I look at it and, I wince a little bit at that idea of everything you could do is run by corporations and things like that. Don't stress too much about it being genuine and perfectly authentic to exactly what you believe. You might write something and think, oh, maybe I'm going a bit far there or something like that. Far better for you to take a bit of a risk and write something where you're thinking, oh, maybe I'm going a bit far there, and write with a genuine, authentic, strong voice than it is to not write anything to do with, a point of view and just meander your way through this piece. It is understood that you haven't seen this material. It is understood that you haven't had time to prepare the greatest, most thoughtful, insightful arguments that really show off who you are and how you understand the world. It is a half-hour task. So dive in, take a few risks with it, and don't get too caught up on it having to be perfect. The next paragraph reads, accepting the impossibility of being one of a kind and finding joy in the company of others is the key to a more peaceful existence. We unfortunately have so many people riddled with anxiety and stress in our society, and much of it comes from how they feel others perceive them. Now, a sentence like that, if I was grading a student in a VCE class and they were putting together, say, their oral presentation or a point of view where they had to research and so on, I'd say to them, well, that's a bit of a generalization. That's pretty general to say we have so many people riddled with anxiety and stress in our society. It's perfectly acceptable in this writing task for the same reasons I mentioned before. It's understood that you haven't had time to prepare, so some of those more general statements are going to be more than acceptable. It's your way of making a point. You don't have to have perfect statistics or anything like that, because there's no way you could walk into the GAT with them. Of course, you don't want to take this too far and be coming up with things that are outrageous or ridiculous or just purely made up, but coming through and being able to make some pretty sweeping statements like that may not be perfect in a piece where you've had time to prepare and so on, but here they suit well. It's about you developing a point of view, almost like you're having a conversation, with friends about how you feel about a certain issue. When we fall victim to being obsessed with ourselves, the outcome is rarely a positive one. This isn't as easy as it may sound, however. Every day we spend time on apps that let us into the lives of others, with regular people feeling the need to promote their life as if they're a celebrity. We are forced to consume advertisements that tell us to stand out and be an individual simply by buying the same car, cap or coffee as a bunch of other people. As kids move from their first iPad to an iPhone, there's no wonder that they feel that everything they encounter should be made special for them. It's no wonder people become tired and anxious. And so you'll notice here that when I'm bringing in evidence to support my ideas, it's bringing in relatable things that the audience who is reading this piece or the assessor who's reading this piece is going to be able to call upon. iPads, iPhones, advertisements, that Instagram lifestyle that's mentioned there with the way in which people have to present themselves. It's effective argument being used to develop that point of view. It seems that the pressure on keeping up with the Joneses has morphed into people looking to keep up the appearance of true individuality. So, should we all just conform to the one standard and live a grey and lifeless experience? Of course not. There's a sweet spot in accepting what we all share as people and giving up the obsession of being unique and different. Forces bigger than us have already decided what we'll wear, listen to and drive. The sad reality is that comfort comes from accepting our powerlessness and finding contentment in the company of others. Once we accept this, we can start to enjoy the benefits from being part of a bigger group and simply enjoy being together. The best moments of our lives are those we share with others. Obsession with the self leads us nowhere. The sooner we start living to help and understand others, the better we'll all be as a collective. And so what you'll notice there is that in that concluding paragraph, there's a couple of new ideas that have come in, and perhaps if this was a perfect, 10 out of 10 piece, I'd say, oh, well, the conclusion maybe brought up some new ideas. Remembering again, you've only got the half hour. It's not expected to be that perfect piece of writing. I'd also say, though, that last paragraph has some really well-written argument and some really strong point of view coming across that's helping me express myself in a really clear way. Don't get hung up on perfection. Remember what you're being assessed on. Your ability to develop a point of view, your ability to organise your thoughts and arguments, to elaborate on ideas that you have, and to write in a really expressive manner. I really hope that today's video has helped. We've got a video that also helps with other parts of the GAT that you'll be able to find on the English Lab channel, as well as a bunch of videos about the texts on the VCE 3-4 English list. All the best for the GAT, and please, if you have any questions or anything you'd like further help with, make sure to ask down there in the comments. Good luck.